Walmart's plan to close 2 of its San Diego stores. You wanted to know why they're shutting down, and CBS 8's Shannon Handy has been working for you to get some answers.
In the middle of the night, residents of San Diego were shocked to learn that Walmart would be closing 2 of its stores in the area. But the story doesn't end there. Consumers across the United States are witnessing Walmart slowly vanish from their daily lives. According to analysts, the reason behind the retail giant's retreat from its homeland stems from none other than the country's own leader, Trump's tariff policy. Just how serious and heavy-handed is this policy that it could force Walmart to flee? Could it push the world into a trade war? And can Trump stop it? All will be revealed in the video. China tariffs surge. Is Walmart crumbling in the U.S. market? In May 2025, President Donald Trump's new tariff policy sent shockwaves through the U.S. market, imposing import duties as high as 145% on Chinese goods, later reduced to 30%. Walmart, the country's largest retailer, immediately felt the pressure from these skyrocketing costs. The company announced plans to shut down several U.S. locations, citing unsustainable operating expenses. By June 2025, Walmart had already projected price increases across a wide range of products, with even sharper hikes expected in July. Consumers were stunned as the price of a Barbie doll jumped from $10.49 to $14.99 in just 1 week. Essential goods like household items, clothing, and packaged food were not spared either. These changes weren't just on paper. Walmart's distribution centers and warehouses began to scale back, leading to staff cuts or worker reassignments, directly impacting thousands of American employees. Walmart's once tightly run supply chain suffered major disruptions due to soaring import costs. According to a report by the Peterson Institute for International Economics, such high tariffs caused average prices to rise by 15 to 20%. While the benefits of narrowing the trade deficit remained controversial. The institute also warned that pushing costs onto end consumers could reduce purchasing power and negatively affect the domestic economy. The U.S. Department of Commerce reported that in Q2 2025, major retailers like Walmart were forced to revise their import strategies and consider scaling back operations in order to preserve profit margins amid new cost pressures. Although the import tax was later reduced from 145% to 30%, instability in the supply chain and upward price pressure persisted. Walmart has become a striking example of how aggressive tariff measures can bring unintended consequences, not only to international trade relations but also to consumers and the domestic labor market. Walmart's strategy to weather the tariff storm. When Chinese import tariffs surged to 145%, later lowered to 30% in May 2025, Walmart couldn't afford to stay passive. Rather than maintaining large domestic orders, the company cut U.S. order volume by 20% in Q2 and accelerated the expansion of its overseas supply chain. India and Mexico became key destinations due to their lower production costs, helping to offset the impact of the tariffs. Walmart made substantial investments in setting up factories and warehouses in Mexico, increasing imports from there by 25% compared to the previous year. In India, it significantly expanded partnerships with local suppliers to diversify its product sources and reduce dependence on China. Additionally, Walmart changed the packaging of some products from aluminum to fiberglass, a material subject to lower tariffs, cutting import tax costs by 12% on affected items. This move helped the company keep retail prices more stable amid widespread inflation. In an interview with Bloomberg, James Mitchell, Walmart's head of supply chain, emphasized, "We are restructuring our supply chain to minimize the impact of tariffs. Investing in Mexico and India not only reduces costs but also enhances supply chain sustainability, helping protect consumers during this volatile period." However, shifting the supply chain isn't a quick fix. Building and strengthening factories and logistics hubs in India and Mexico requires significant time and resources. Changes in product design must also go through testing and adjustments to ensure quality remains intact. On top of that, transportation costs and customs hurdles in these new markets pose additional challenges. According to the American Logistics Association, international shipping costs rose by an average of 8% in the first half of 2025, largely due to global supply chain changes. Furthermore, diversifying suppliers means Walmart must manage more partners, increasing complexity in quality control and delivery timelines. If not tightly managed, these risks could affect the consumer shopping experience. Nonetheless, with no signs of the trade war cooling down, Walmart's strategy is seen as a necessary move to remain competitive and ensure supply chain resilience. Reducing its reliance on China may help the company cushion the impact of future tariff shocks. Trump administration responds to Walmart's supply chain shift. When news of Walmart shifting its supply chain overseas became widely publicized, the administration of President Donald Trump quickly issued a response, according to a 2025 Reuters report. In public statements and media appearances, White House officials emphasized that outsourcing orders could negatively impact American workers, whom they described as crucial contributors to the success of major corporations. Bloomberg, 2025, reported that high-level closed-door meetings were held continuously to discuss countermeasures against companies dodging tariffs by reconfiguring their supply chains, as Walmart had done. A stern message followed. The government might consider withdrawing supply and service contracts with Walmart, posing significant losses for the company, which relies heavily on these agreements. Each contract, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, came under scrutiny, putting immense pressure on Walmart's leadership. It wasn't just the president. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick also voiced his support for the administration's tough stance. In an interview with CNBC, Lutnick stated, "American businesses must accept tariffs as part of their responsibility to protect domestic industry. Dodging these tariffs is unacceptable." The government's tone created clear pressure, pushing Walmart and other companies into a balancing act between profit margins and the obligation to preserve domestic jobs. For American workers already anxious over falling order volumes, this raised a new question: was the government truly on their side? However, outside the White House, economists offered a different perspective. At the Economic Policy Institute, Dr. Linda Cao explained, "Tariffs are essentially an indirect tax. Any additional costs will be passed directly to consumers through higher prices. In the end, it's the public that bears the burden." Dr. Cao cited that after tariffs were imposed on Chinese goods, prices in supermarkets and retail stores rose by an average of 15% within just a few months, directly affecting the purchasing power of middle and low-income households. Policies meant to protect domestic jobs were instead pushing American consumers into the grip of rising living costs. Business performance and long-term warning signs. In Q1 2025, Walmart reported revenue growth driven primarily by online retail and food sales. Orders from its website and grocery stores accounted for over 60% of total revenue during the period, according to its recently released financial report. However, the company's net profit showed a downward trend, as rising operating and import costs weighed heavily amid ongoing trade tensions. To maintain profitability, Walmart accelerated early ordering strategies to avoid upcoming tariff hikes and implemented cost-cutting measures by streamlining operations and reducing non-essential spending. According to estimates from the Institute of International Finance, IIF, these actions helped Walmart reduce costs by around 8% in the first half of 2025. Still, retail prices for many essentials began to spike. For example, the price of child car seats rose 18% from the start of the year, while electronics and seasonal goods climbed by an average of 12 to 15%. Consumers across the country began feeling the pressure of these price fluctuations. Though Walmart maintained its market leadership, many financial experts warned that the company's financial health was not entirely solid. Continuous price increases and high operating expenses could erode long-term competitiveness, especially as consumers increasingly tighten their spending in an uncertain economy. Impact on American communities. When Walmart changes, who pays the price? In early 2025, Walmart, the largest retailer in the U.S., announced plans to eliminate approximately 1,500 positions across its global tech, e-commerce management, and advertising divisions as part of a restructuring strategy to reduce costs and improve efficiency. Workers affected. In Bentonville, Arkansas, home to Walmart's headquarters, news of the tech department restructure spread within hours of the internal memo. Sarah Thompson, a software engineer with 5 years at the company, told the Wall Street Journal, "I was shocked by the announcement. I understand the company needs to adapt, but losing my job is still a major blow for me and my family." Sarah was not alone. On the anonymous tech forum Blind, dozens of posts from self-identified Walmart employees appeared within 24 hours of the layoff announcement, expressing concerns over rent, medical bills, children's tuition, and unemployment benefits falling short of covering basic needs. In Dallas, Texas, Joshua Cruz, a freelance truck driver who regularly fulfilled Walmart orders, told CDL Life, "I used to run enough routes each week to support my 2 kids. But since March, orders have dropped sharply. Sometimes I take longer, lower-paying trips just to keep the truck running." According to the American Trucking Association, ATA, in Q1 2025 alone, short-term contracts between retailers and independent drivers fell nearly 17%. Analysts at Moody's Analytics noted that this was a direct result of large corporations, including Walmart, reshaping supply chains and reducing reliance on domestic transport intermediaries. In Findlay, Ohio, Lisa Monroe, a warehouse worker at a Walmart distribution center, told NBC News that after the company introduced an automated sorting system, her work shifts were cut from 5 days a week to just 3. "With hourly wages, fewer shifts mean I have to choose between paying the electric bill or buying medicine for my mom." An internal survey released in April 2025 by United for Respect, a labor rights group representing retail workers, showed that among 2,300 former Walmart employees surveyed, 41% reported relying on credit cards to cover basic necessities after losing hours or being laid off. Workers in heartland states like Missouri, Kansas, and Tennessee told NPR that they didn't just lose income, they lost their workplace community. That included people who helped with childcare, shared rides to work, or simply shared lunch to save money. While Walmart continues to insist that it is restructuring to invest in the future, for many workers, that future begins with uncertainty and isolation. Impact on small suppliers. With over 100,000 domestic suppliers, Walmart has long been a flagship customer for thousands of small businesses across the United States. However, since early 2025, the retail giant's shift in supply chain strategy, aimed at avoiding import tariffs and optimizing costs, has taken a heavy toll on small and medium-sized U.S. manufacturers. According to a survey by the National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB, nearly 32% of suppliers previously under contract with Walmart reported that their orders from the company dropped by over 25% in just the first quarter of 2025. Some said they were entirely cut out of the supply chain as Walmart pivoted to larger suppliers in Mexico or India. John Miller, owner of a household goods factory in Dayton, Ohio, which used to supply air fryers and mini ovens to Walmart, told Bloomberg, "We did business with them for 13 years. But since February, our orders have dropped 70%. I had to lay off 18 workers, nearly half of our team." Many small business owners have voiced concerns that Walmart is now pursuing a volume-first, maximum cost-cutting policy, forcing domestic suppliers, who can't compete on price with global rivals, to either withdraw or shut down entirely. When Walmart leaves, small towns tremble. In small towns across America, a Walmart store often represents more than just a convenient shopping destination. It's the heartbeat of the community. When Walmart closes, it's not just the shelves that go empty. Schools, hospitals, even Main Street start to feel the void. Winsboro, South Carolina, is a case in point. According to PBS NewsHour, after the local Walmart shut down in early 2025, over 160 people lost their jobs, a significant blow to a town of just over 3,000 residents. The immediate drop in retail tax revenue left the town budget short, directly impacting public services such as fire departments, libraries, and road maintenance. In Fairfield, Alabama, the aftermath was even more severe. Walmart's exit left the town without a single major grocery store, effectively turning it into a food desert, as defined by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, an area with no reasonable access to fresh food. A piece in The New Yorker described scenes of residents lining up for buses just to reach a supermarket 15 miles away. While local communities struggle to adjust, Walmart is doubling down on automation. According to Yahoo Finance, the company aims to increase revenue by $130 billion over the next 5 years through the use of robots and automated logistics systems at distribution centers and stores. Though cost-efficient, this strategy threatens jobs in rural areas, regions already short on quality employment. A report by New America notes that about 20% of Americans live in rural communities, where they are most at risk of being replaced by machines. In towns like Sallisaw, Oklahoma, or Yazoo City, Mississippi, where Walmart is among the few large-scale employers, this shift is a warning. Not everyone gets a ticket on the tech train. Public outcry. The sudden closure has left a gaping hole in the community, said Nicole Rogers, a member of the Albuquerque City Council, during a public hearing after Walmart announced the closure of a key store in the city's southeast quadrant. We're working with nonprofits to provide food and essential services to residents, but that can't fully replace the role Walmart once played. Councilor Rogers' statement wasn't isolated. On community platforms like Nextdoor and Facebook groups, hundreds of residents shared their frustration. One user, Carla M., wrote, "Walmart's closure means I have to take 2 buses just to get milk for my kid. This isn't shopping anymore, it's survival." A KRQE News 13 segment from New Mexico showed people lining up at bus stops, many elderly and pushing carts, preparing for long trips to buy necessities at faraway supermarkets. Organizations like Roadrunner Food Bank reported a 28% increase in food aid registrations within just 1 month of Walmart's closure. In other places like Pine Bluff, Arkansas, or Gary, Indiana, petition drives urging Walmart to reopen stores or to hand over sites to local businesses have drawn thousands of signatures. One Change.org petition about a store in South Bend, Indiana, gained over 12,000 signatures in just 10 days. Writing for USA Today, urban economist Robin Hanna observed, "When a Walmart pulls out, it's not just a store that disappears. It's a withdrawal of funding, of job opportunities, and worse, a loss of belief that the community still has a future." These reactions underscore that, for many U.S. communities, Walmart is more than a corporation. It's a socio-economic ecosystem, and when that ecosystem collapses, the people bear the brunt. The retreat of a retail giant forces the nation to confront difficult questions. Is this betrayal or survival in a new economic era? How should the government protect workers in a world of deepening globalization? And if even Walmart, with its vast network, capital, and data, struggles to adapt, who in retail can? Questions for the future. Walmart's mass store closures, offshore supply chain shift, and automation push are not just internal corporate moves. They pose existential questions for the U.S. economy during an uncertain time. Is this a sign that Walmart is abandoning the very communities that helped it grow? Or simply a survival strategy amid rising costs, volatile markets, and fast-escalating trade barriers? When President Trump imposed import tariffs to protect American jobs, an unintended consequence followed. Iconic U.S. companies began scaling back domestically to adapt. The next question: should businesses be made to absorb the full cost of tariff policies? On one hand, many argue that corporations like Walmart have a duty to preserve American jobs. On the other, executives insist they can't maintain profitability with soaring input costs while consumers still demand low prices. In practice, tariffs, though levied on imports, often get passed on to consumers, raising the price of everyday goods. Meanwhile, the long-term impact of automation and globalized supply chains is becoming a growing concern. McKinsey estimates that more than 25% of retail jobs could be replaced by automation in the next decade. Roles once seen as stable in rural America, truck driving, cashiering, warehousing, are being phased out by robots, software, and smart ordering systems. Moving factories and supplier contracts to Mexico or India may lower costs, but it also severs the local ties that once bonded major corporations to their communities. And finally, a bigger question looms over the entire retail sector. If even Walmart, with the largest distribution network in the country, cutting-edge technology, and a workforce of hundreds of thousands, has to scramble to survive, who else stands a chance? Small businesses, family-owned shops, even mid-sized chains. How will they cope with rising costs, tech pressure, and shifting macroeconomic policies? There are no easy answers. But one thing is clear. The traditional retail model stands at a crossroads, and the path Walmart is taking, however controversial, may well be a preview of America's consumer future in the decade ahead. Walmart's store closures, supply chain restructuring, and workforce cuts are not merely immediate consequences of tariff policies. They signal a profound shift in the structure of the American economy. When corporate giants are forced to adapt, everyday people, small businesses, and the towns that once relied on them all feel the weight of this transformation. While President Trump maintains a firm stance on trade protectionism, the reality shows that the tariff strategy is cornering businesses. Stay, and they face rising costs. Leave, and they face political and social backlash. The question, can Trump end the trade war, no longer seems to be just about a decision from the White House. It's about a chain reaction that has already been set in motion, one that will continue to affect consumers, workers, and the retail industry for years to come. Although the debate rages on, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The trade war isn't just happening at the borders. It is quietly redrawing the economic map of America, from the upper echelons of multinational corporations to the small-town streets where a Walmart store once served as the heart of the community. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our upcoming content. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. And remember, everything we share here is meant for reference and analysis from multiple perspectives. Be sure to consult other sources to gain a more complete and objective view.